It's very interesting when agriculture sector credit is down 5%.
Yeah. Significant.
Even the agriculture that we beat our chest on and say, look, we're doing great. And that's all the way to the presidency, to the executive. Yes, we're doing well in agriculture, but credit even to agriculture
is declining.
That is declining.
Yeah, and it's the reason why we have these commodities. You know, we talk about these commodities all the time. It's another avenue for you to branch out within the economy, move on to other things that are less focused on oil. But yet we're seeing that the commercial banks are actually not lending to them. So it's some of these underlying issues that we need to, you know, consider within the banking system.
We need to find out a lot of things, because if you look at the volume, and thank you folks for your team to say it. If you look at commercial banking sector credit to private sector, down less than 1%. Yeah, less than 1%. Yeah. So 1%, less than 1%. Well, not something that moved the needle significantly. Yeah. So I have less worry over that if it's a quarter-on-quarter basis. Yeah. But you look at the figure. This is 15.6 trillion. That's a whole lot of money.
It is.
If you put 15.6 trillion naira into, that is about twice the size of 2018 budget and a little bit over. So you're talking about $40 billion in a quarter. Show me the money.
Well, that's a valid point. So I think personally there are loopholes within the system.
Yeah, in which folks perhaps, maybe that's where the investigation has to come in. Are these banks lending this money to the private sector, or they are doing something else with it and posting it as loans to private sector, or the private sector folks took this money, 15.6 trillion naira, which is north of $40 billion US, within 3 months of this year, right?
Yeah. But
unless this went to petrol imports.
What I can tell you is that from the manufacturing angle, there's no evidence that they actually
got this money.
Exactly.
Or got all of this money.
Yeah, because commodity prices are still very sticky. We haven't seen any changes.
The price of bread and everything is still high. And you say 15.6 trillion went as credit from banks to the private sector.
It's something to look at.
I need to look at this money. Yeah. No, it's not something to look at. This is big money to look for. this is about $45 billion US within a quarter, not year on year. And we can't find the money within the banking, within the system. Maybe now we have a justification why the central bank says we're not reducing interest rates yet, because the banks are not lending. But then this figure is very, very scary.
It is, but well, we
need to find this money. Let's just leave it there. We need to find this money one way or the other. Anyone out there who can help us find this money? Is the money still within the banking sector? The banks diverting this to others? Or would we use most of it for petrol imports or whatever? We just need to know. Folks just collected this money and go have a nice time or pursuing other things other than using the money for which they borrow them from the commercial banks. So let's talk about this currency swap. I spent a few days out of town, and all I got on Twitter and what have you is boasting how much about this currency swap do you? And I said, I didn't sign it. Godwin Emefiele signed it. What are the details? It's not an essentially new story, really.
No.
So, walk us through this with all, $2.5 billion currency swap.
Okay, so a simple way to explain this is the fact that obviously we know that you using the swap, the exchange rate placed on the swap is actually 305 naira to the dollar. So imagine a case where you're buying an iPhone 10 from China, and you you buy on the parallel market, which is about 360 naira to the dollar, let's say given at 450,000 naira for the iPhone 10, and then you go through the swap, you get it at 305 naira to the dollar, and you pay,
which is a CBN window rate, reference rate,
yes,
which is a subsidized rate,
yes, for the swap, and you get this at about 373,000 naira. The same iPhone 10. What happens then is it benefits those middlemen who are buying it from China,
who are importing
it, yes, who get it at a cheaper rate. But at the same time, what happens to the Nigerian public is that they still end up buying the iPhone 10 at the 450,000. So technically, the only impact of this swap is on those middlemen who are importing, who are benefiting from the marginalized figure and putting that profit in their pocket.
And it benefits China as well.
It also benefits
that sells
China.
bring more of its products
Exactly.
into Nigeria because we do not produce on our own.
It also helps Chinese balance of trade as well. Weakens ours because we only have very few goods that we actually export to China, if not significant at all. But we import so much from China, so it doesn't
all
even
the Okadas, right?
Well,
oh,
yeah.
no. Break my heart.
Yeah, but it doesn't really help our balance of trade. So that's, although the amount is not as significant, it's only $2.5 billion from the course of like 2 years. But it's also something to look at. Obviously, it's an unconventional monetary policy. It's ways to help our foreign exchange, but at the same time, it's depending on how it's being imposed within the economy will determine how, it impacts us in the long term.
We produce onions. Do we export onions to China by any chance?
No, we don't.
China is also a world producer, so they don't even need our onions.
No, they don't. No, they don't. Onions...
End of discussion. But go on, we still have a minute.
Well, yeah, so we only, total global production for onions is about 93 million tons. Of that, we only produce about 1 million tons, which is very insignificant. But we're still #1 within sub-Saharan Africa. So onions are, the most consumed vegetables. It's used for several, it's used for ingredients, it's used for, cooking. It also has its health benefits and all that. But
it's an antibiotic.
It's also an antibiotic. It's really good to reduce blood sugar.
But no one should abuse it.
Well, no.
Let's just put a warning out there right now. There are folks who are abusing a lot of things. So onion is good for it, but don't abuse it, just in case anyone. But look at where we are producing in Nigeria. That tells a lot of story. Kano, Kaduna, Jigawa, Sokoto, Plateau, Bauchi, and Kebbi. So we have a very major production here.
We do. It's produced in the north. But I think the main issue...
But a sack of onion at 15,000 naira is a whole lot of money.
It is, but it's declined from about 17,000 from last month to about 15. So we're still...
I've got to say another end of discussion here. Because from 17 to 15, I'm looking for a single digit.
Well, we'll get there soon.
We'll get there soon. Yeah. Now we are there. Thank you for coming.
We
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's Bolanle Olutosin, one of the great set of research analysts and economists with Financial Derivatives Company. What should we do with the month of May? He says you should sell in May and go away. Should you? Would you? What's the state of the economy? What are the backlogs we're coming with from the month of April? And we're getting all that conversation together when we return just in 2.